Hello, everybody. It's Cindy Ingram, and we are finishing up the first week of Art Around the World in 30 days. So far, we've seen art from an artist in China, in the US, in Italy, and in, oh, I forgot. What's the fourth one? South Africa. And today we are headed to Brazil, where the artist was born and raised in Brazil, but moved to the US when he was an adult. So the artist today is Vik Muniz, and I am going to share my screen so you can see it. And if you would like to get emails about these video updates, go over to artclasscurator.com/AATW. And then you also can enter the giveaway over there. And this series, I'm showing you one of the series, but it's a whole series of artworks by Vik Muniz, and they are called Pictures of Garbage. And what he has done is created portraits out of garbage at a landfill in Brazil. So take a look at this. And now if you're an art person, art history person, you probably recognize this image. This is based off of The Death of Marat by Jacques-Louis David, I believe. Somehow, yeah, I was right. Somehow the name of the artist suddenly sounded wrong coming out of my mouth, but it is not. The Death of Marat, which is right here. And I'll tell you the significance of that in a little bit. But first, I want you to take a look at it for yourself. Think about, what do you think the artist was trying to accomplish? Think about kind of look closely at the zoomed in features and see the scale of this. There's full-size toilet seats that look really tiny on there. So this is a massive thing. So the artwork is actually the picture, not necessarily the physical objects. Those things were probably, moved on to a landfill. They can't carry these big piles of garbage and put them in art galleries and things like that. So the artwork is the photograph. And think about, what do you think the artist was trying to say? And then also, is there anything for is calling on for you? Like, is there a message in here for you that you hadn't, or that maybe you needed to hear based on your own personal situation? So I'm going to make sure you have time to really explore this artwork for yourself. I have been posting the still images of these up on Facebook as well and on Instagram. So if you ever want to go back and really look at the artwork, you don't have to pause the video. You can head over to those posts as well. Okay, so let me tell you what I know about this one. These are, so Vik Muniz, he grew up poor in Brazil, and then he ended up, it was kind of an interesting story that he was in a different field. It was, oh shoot, now I forgot, but he was at some sort of black tie affair. Like I want to say he was in advertising, and he got shot in the leg there. And then the person who shot him ended up giving him money so that he wouldn't press charges. And so he decided to take that money and go to the US. He moved to New York, where he became a framer, and then was introduced to the art of Jeff Koons at the time. And then he was like, oh, I can do this. He was like inspired to create sort of non-traditional art, and then started to explore making art. He's a very prolific artist. If you go to his website, you can see he has pretty much all of his art by year, and it just goes way down. There's tons of pictures of his art and all different types of series on there, and really fascinating art. And they're very layered with meaning, which is always really good for your own personal interpretations, but also to incorporate in the classroom, because there's a lot to it. So these artworks are portraits of a group of people called the katadores, which is a garbage picker, and they would go through the dump, the landfills, and they would pick out garbage that they can resell or and make money from. and then would recycle those objects, or whatever it was, and that's how they would make their money. So they're not necessarily like an employed person, but someone who is making a living on their own terms. And they are actually, but what's cool about it is they actually are doing a major service for the environment and for society by reusing this trash and allowing it to have other uses and things like that. So they have, I believe this was done, I think in 2010 or around there. And I think that they have actually been employed in many ways by the cities instead of them being on their own since this artwork was made. So there's a documentary about this called Wasteland that it won awards, and I have not watched it. Apparently I'm adding a list of things I need to watch this week. All of the documentaries and things I'm finding. I don't tend to watch a lot of things on TV, so I want to add that to my list as well. Okay, so he took a picture of the katadore, and then the katadore then would help collect the garbage and help him create the art. He sort of rented this space, brought in all this garbage that he essentially rented, and then created, worked to make his composition, and then would take the photo and everything, and then the katadore would help. And then he paid each of the katadore like $50,000 for their participation in the project. And then his proceeds from this project, the proceeds from the documentary, like there was money donated to this collective of katadores in Brazil. So not only is like what's cool is like the katadore is benefiting the environment. Vik Muniz is benefiting the environment by making this sort of issue well known, reusing garbage, like spreading the word. But he's also financially supporting them, and so it's just like this really layered impact, layered impact, through like advocacy, through actually financially supporting people, all the things. And so he would take a picture of the katadore, and then they would work to recreate it in the garbage. And then with a lot of Vik Muniz's work does have like a political message to it. So it said in the article that I read that his sorry, I like completely forgot what I was saying because I was looking at the trash and I got distracted by the trash. What was I saying? Oh, he said that because like the government in Brazil when he grew up was very like military regime, and he said they all like learned to sort of speak in metaphor and just to speak around things and talk about things using metaphor. And so he incorporates a lot of like deeper meaning and metaphor in his work because of that. So I thought that was really interesting. And one of that is the use of Death of Marat. So the artwork Death of Marat by Jacques-Louis David is an artwork from the this is neoclassical, isn't it? Neoclassical time period. And the Marat was actually a revolutionary from the French Revolution, a leader in the French Revolution who was murdered. And this is showing the murder. And that seems like, okay, it's depicting a historical subject. That's kind of a common thing. But if you think about it in terms of art history, before this, there was a lot of like ancient, or like Greek myths and stuff they would represent. They would do Bible stories and portraits and things like that. But they didn't, and if they were making a political message, it would be like through a metaphor or through another story that is kind of similarly related, but it wasn't often like the actual event represented. And we did see some of that in the Romantic time period, but like this was kind of a new thing to like, this is the actual guy. So and so he's comparing the katadore, like he's doing that in his work, Vik Muniz is, and then he is putting him on this level of a revolutionary. So pretty interesting. I don't normally do a lot of like the about the artists and stuff, but I think there's so much layered stuff here that and it's just really fascinating. The amount of like the more you think about it, like how deep you can go with the meaning of this, like especially going into the garbage and going into like the scale and what it means for these people to see themselves like that. There was a quote from the exhibit that from one of the katadores who was seeing the portraits in the gallery. He was like, you know, we see ourselves as so small, but everyone here is just looking at us as so big and so beautiful. And so it was really powerful to see that too. Okay, so that's the artwork for today. Pictures of Garbage by Vik Muniz. Definitely lots of connections to incorporate in your classroom. If you're a teacher, there's a lot of discussion as always, but creating portraits out of non-traditional materials, you can really get into that and invite students to create a work of art using found objects and non-traditional materials. And how do you represent a realistic subject through something like this? So pretty interesting. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. That's our first week of Art Around the World in 30 days. As a reminder, I will not be doing this over the weekend as a gift to myself. Because I tend to do 30-day series and I'm like, oh, I didn't factor in the weekends. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me this week. Again, you can get the emails at artclasscurator.com/AATW and then follow along on Facebook and on YouTube and see the still art on Instagram and Facebook. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.